Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Hello? Okay, good afternoon, Huskies, and welcome to the second installment of Elevate Career Hacks Online Professional Development Workshops. My name is April Brown, and I am the Associate Director of Alumni Events here at the UConn Office of Alumni Relations, and I will be your moderator today. On behalf of the UConn Foundation, we are excited for today's discussion on leveraging your LinkedIn. Today's presentation will feature our own university's Center for Career Development and its talented team of career experts. Today, we are joined by Beth Setke. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But before we begin, a few areas of note to help you manage your webinar participation. 1, there will be an opportunity to ask questions by typing them into the question box on your control panel. Feel free to type them in as you think of them, and we will address as many as possible throughout and at the end of the session. A survey will be sent as a follow-up. We would appreciate it if you could fill out the survey so that we can continue to bring you the types of webinars that you are looking for and to enhance your careers. This webinar will be recorded. Please visit our YouTube page at youtube.com/UConn alumni sometime later this week to review and to view previously conducted presentations. Lastly, this presentation is part of the Alumni Relations Office initiative, Elevate Your Career Next Level, which features 22 events nationwide in the month of January through February 6th. This series works to provide opportunities to enhance career trajectory by featuring recruiters, career experts, entrepreneurs, C-level individuals, and industry experts that can share their insight and experience with their fellow alumni community through unique and exclusive access to venues and personnel in a variety of industries. I would urge you to check out the full calendar of Elevate events both in and online by visiting s.uconn.edu/505. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter. Beth Setke has been at the UConn Center for Career Development since 2001 and is currently an associate director. A self-titled word nerd, she is attentive to how writing well can reflect our talents and promote our skills. She enjoys helping students and alumni enhance their marketability through career-related tools such as resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn. Prior to working in career services at UConn, Beth has positions in residence life, student activities, orientation, and academic advising at other colleges in Connecticut and Massachusetts. Beth is married to a UConn alum, Radcliffe Hicks, and is the parent to a May 2020 graduate of CLAS in History and Political Sciences as well. Beth earned her bachelor's degree in Marketing and English from Arcadia University, followed by a master's in college student personnel from the University of Maryland. So, Beth, would you like to take over?
All right, thanks, April. Hi, everyone. If you have the chance to be online in LinkedIn during the presentation, that's great. If not, you'll be able to, as April said, follow this later in the week when it's made available to everyone through the YouTube channel that Alumni has. Either way, whatever works best for you to take notes. I will go through this somewhat quickly because I want to be respectful of your time. That stated, please feel free to send in messages and April will let us know if there's something that I should speak to in the moment or if we can save it to the end. Alrighty, so moving forward then. Go to the next slide. So here's our agenda. I'll talk briefly about why LinkedIn is so important and the effect of its impact on you, especially as a job seeker or a networker. It's not only if you're job seeking. Then how to develop your own LinkedIn page to make it as strong as possible, how to maximize the tools LinkedIn provides, give you some web resources and how to work with us in the future, as well as how to work with Pro-Tem partners, an agency that the Alumni Association is partnered with and has some excellent opportunities for alum to get career coaching, and then more about Elevate. So that's what you're going to get for the next little while. All right, so LinkedIn's presence and impact. So here's the information where I got the information from, both from LinkedIn directly and then from this article here. But really I wanted to highlight, and the articles are pretty interesting if you find that content worth diving deeper. What I think is pretty significant is this number, the 660 million members in 200 countries and regions worldwide. Just the vast expanse of LinkedIn and the fact that everywhere you go, almost every single industry uses LinkedIn, whether again it's a job seeking tool or a networking tool, relationship building. This is the way it's done through the internet. So it's just definitely worth noting and seeing which areas are represented. And the fact that more than 70% of our members are outside of the US just is amazing to me because of the international global impact. So something noteworthy. All righty. So what will your LinkedIn page look like? So this is a screenshot of a document. I also have a link for you at the end of the presentation. This is available on the Center for Career Development's website. So what we're going to cover today is how to make your photo stand out. Headline is now called, how to make a headline that's relevant to you. You will have where you went to school will be there, as well as what industry you're in and how to address the right industry for you. The word summary is now about, so that has changed. The content hasn't, but the way LinkedIn defined it, now it's about. You'll explain your various experiences, where you should list your education, if you're doing any volunteering, and then how to utilize your skills and endorsements and your recommendations. What are the different accomplishments that you have done, whether you're a recent alum or you've been out 25 years? What have you been up to? What's important? What do you want people in the professional realm to know about you? And then interests, again, what is relevant and appropriate, as well as how to reach you. So we'll cover all this when we go live in a moment. I'd like you to think, though, about your profile in the way of, if any of you attended the webinar that I did earlier in the month, we talked about a master resume and then a tailored resume. So a master resume is where you put everything you've ever done on these documents. It can be 15 pages long because it's only for you. And then the tailored one is 1 to 2 pages, typically, depending on your industry. And it's very specific to the job you're applying for. LinkedIn is sort of in the middle. So we don't want this massive, exhaustive list of everything you've done since you're 12 years old. That said, we don't want it so narrow that if you are looking at any point to branch out or you would like to be contacted about something more than just your occupation, that would be too tailored. So it's finding that middle ground. So think of it like your master resume, but a little bit light. So your master resume light, but not as specific as if you're applying to only one position. Now, all that stated, if you are extremely focused in your industry, that is your 100% your lane, and you never ever plan on leaving your lane, then of course you can make this more tailored. However, if you're someone like, well, I like my job, I want to do, but it's more about the industry to me than the role, we want to make it more industry friendly. If vice versa, you love your role, but your industry is, you're more indifferent to where you do it, you just always want to do that job, then we want to make it more job and occupation oriented. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Okay. So let's go into LinkedIn. So we're going to go to my profile. So I'm just going to bring it over because that's faster than linking in. So here we go. So this is me, and I'll go through it with you. So this is what others see. I mean, this is when I've logged in, but I believe you'll see something pretty darn similar once we're connected, right? If we're not connected, you're going to see a more general version, and I'll show you how to do connections too. So I have chosen to use my maiden name as well as my married name, even though I've been married for almost 25 years, because when I first started in this profession, I was not married, and then connections from high school and college will know me by my maiden name. So that's why I still have it, even though it's so many years later. This is my headline. As you can see, it does not have my title. My title is Associate Director, and then comma, College to Career Transitions and Alumni Engagement. So it sort of describes what I do, but that's really long, and just Associate Director would not say anything. So I've decided to create a profile defining how I want to be perceived and understood by others who find my profile on their own. I like thinking of LinkedIn as a way for you to make your own first impression. So if I can sidebar for a moment, imagine you are at a networking event and you get introduced to someone who maybe works at a place that you'd like to work at, and you are introduced by a mutual third party. Chances are that third party has said to the person you're meeting, oh, this is so-and-so. I've told you about them. They are the one who blank, right? That means their first impression of you is through this third person's context. I would much prefer you create your own first impression. So that's why I really think it's important for you to define yourself in this header. Now, some people absolutely want to use their job title, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to give you options. Underneath, you will state the area that you're looking to work in. So we get this a lot with our current undergrads who say, who are from usually the Connecticut area, I want to live in X. So if someone wants to work and live anywhere around New York, we'll use the greater New York City area. Same thing if they want to go up to Boston, we use the greater Boston area. Now, how do you do that? If you live in Coventry, Connecticut, but you're thinking you want to move to a greater area, you go online and look up the zip code to a region in the city you're looking to live in, and then you type that in, and then you'll get the option of that city or the greater area. Now, if you are looking to move out of your geographic area, you have two options. You can either put where you are, or you can put the area you're going to. I do think if it's more than an 8-hour drive, if it's a flight away, I think that's worth having a conversation with a career coach, either with us or Pro-Tem or someone else you know, to discuss, I live in Connecticut, I want to move to Chicago. Should I put the Chicago, greater Illinois area kind of thing? And that'll be more of a conversation. I think there's pros and cons. Next, you'll have the number of connections that you have made. Now, connections are incredibly critical to have LinkedIn success. You can certainly reach out to everyone you know in their sphere, in your sphere. And again, I'll show you how to do that. You can also reach out to people that you don't know. So other UConn alum or other people in your profession where you think you can be an asset to one another. So another tip with LinkedIn where people sometimes struggle is they say, well, I don't like networking because I feel like I'm using someone. Networking is relationship building. It's how can you help one another? How do you start a conversation? And that's all it has to be. If it develops into more, that's excellent. But for LinkedIn purposes and for those initial meet and greets, it's just, hi, how do you do? And chat about, again, how you can engage and help one another. You want to make sure you have some decent contact information. So I have chosen, here's my LinkedIn profile, my website's connected to groups that I've been involved in, my office work number, and my work email. Now, I have chosen to not give my personal email. I have found quite a few people who actually do choose to use personal email. Again, that's absolutely your preference. If you don't want to risk getting contacted via LinkedIn and have work know, because your work might monitor your email, then perhaps using personal makes more sense. Especially if you're making a career change, you probably want to use your personal email. Then we can, if I was job searching, I would absolutely show recruiters I'm open to job opportunities. I am not interested in job searching. I'm pretty content, so I am not going to do that. Okay, so then we want the more, we have the add profile section, more, and edit. So let's look at all those. So if I wanted to add other sections, this is where they are. Again, we'll talk about that shortly. More, if I want to give information, it gives us options. And then edit, that's key. If there's anything I need to fix. I kind of like changing up my headline occasionally, or I like to just update. So for example, this should say alumni engagement. So I need to edit my title a little bit, which I can't do right there, but I can do in my work section. Because when I put that on LinkedIn, I hadn't changed the word to engagement. So that's something I can fix. All right, I want to show up here. This shows where I work, which is the first one, and where my last education was, which, as April stated, was at University of Maryland. So nothing in here would say UConn alumni because that's going to be right here. So you don't want to be redundant. If you choose to use your job title, I would not say, again, the name of the agency where you work because that will be this line. All right, let's go up here to the public profile. This is key. If you have not already done this, you want to make sure that you have a personalized URL. So you follow that link and you go in here and you'll edit it through this little edit tool. When LinkedIn assigned you a name, it added a lot of letters and numbers after your name. It might have hyphenated your name, did all sorts of stuff. You want to remove as much as possible and make it as clean and close to your name as possible. Some people do last name, first name versus first name, last name if their name is more common. My last name is not super common, so therefore it is, I'm okay with just having no numbers or letters, etc. after my name. I would discourage you from using the underscore because that's kind of a pain to type. I know it sounds silly, but when you're typing out quickly, to do the quick underscore is just sort of annoying. So I would, if you want to do anything, hyphenate. You can go into your public profile and edit sections. So what is it that people see? So that's what's coming up now. Sorry for the pause. I guess internet at UConn at the moment is lagging. There it comes. Okay. So this is what other people will see when they log into View Me and we're not connected. So that's what that page is. When I go back over here and I want to go into my public profile, which is where we were before, this is where we can edit content. And then this is where you can show what others see. So I have most of my information public, but not all. I don't want the years that I was at certain places public, or same thing with my education, and the groups I've chosen not to make them public. So it's personal preference. You'll just want to pick what makes sense for you right now. Okay, so let's go back to, I think that's all I wanted to show you on this. Oh, the last thing is this part right here. So this is a cover or a background. I am a big into reading, so I've chosen to use that. Some people use part-time jobs. Some people also do hobbies. Some people do the place they work. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure it doesn't overwhelm you. That's the biggest thing. Okay. So now we want to go into some sections. So here's my work sections, and you can rearrange within the sections. That's what the little plus is new. We can edit, and then sometimes you can move things up and down, and we'll see a little menu line. So if I want to change my title, like I said, this should see the word engagement. Now, my entire connection does not need to know I just tweaked my job title. So I have this as off. I'm going to save. If you have a new job or something like this, the new title, new team, and I wanted the world to know, I would have kept that on. So you want to be really discriminate when you make announcements because we don't want people to hear from you too much. We want to have them hear from you just the right amount. So speaking of that, how often should you go into LinkedIn? I would recommend, if you're looking to have a good presence and be leveraged and all that, about twice a week, no less than 4 times a month. Try to do it 7 or 8 times a month. So what does that mean? Well, you can go in and if you follow someone, you can like an article. You can comment on an article. You can post something that's happening in your world. You can update and share an article that you wrote. So for example, I recently was approached to be part of an article for NerdWallet, Wallet Hub, one of the two. And it was just about how to help people saving money and graduating and whatnot and preparing for life after college. So I answered the questions and it was in the article, and then I put that on my activity. So that way, and that's right here, people can see that. So I can show off that I was in Wallet Hub. So I was in the article, people saw it, so there were some comments, but I had 930 views. That's pretty cool. So it's just stuff like that that you want to do to have a presence. And then you might hear from people that you haven't heard from before, and you can always follow up with them. The idea is to stay relevant, to have a good digital footprint. Okay, so we have our experience section. Again, you can move it up and down. I have chosen to write in the experience section in the first person, which you're allowed to do in LinkedIn, versus in a resume you can't. Now, I am noticing that here I chose to not have any first person, but in my present role I do. So I have to decide, is that inconsistent? I do like consistency, so I'll probably go back and edit that a little bit just so it's almost like the resume with having the open with the action verbs. Speaking like a resume, please do not copy verbatim your bullet point statements from your resume into your LinkedIn profile. Remember I talked about the tailored, not tailored? Make your LinkedIn a little more robust. It gives you that opportunity to explain in regular sentences if you want, instead of following a format or the best way of presenting the information on a resume. Okay, I realized I skipped over the summary, so let's talk about that, the about section. Now, right now, I see where it says 3 lines and see more, and I can open it up. LinkedIn just changed this, so it might stay fully open now, because as you can see, I can't close it anymore. So that might be something just to think about. But if it stays with only those first 3 lines and you have to then hit see more, you want to make sure these first 3 lines are really that eye-catching, most pertinent information, pull the reader in. I don't recommend you repeat stuff such as, I'm a UConn alum, I graduated in X year. We can find that out really easily in your education section. So you want to be more what makes sense for your field. So, and what makes sense, what do you want people who find you to know about you? I like 2 to 3 paragraphs typically, and at the bottom you can see it has how to connect with me. I don't like it when random people who have no reason at all to connect with me just send me a LinkedIn connection. I much prefer that they go through our department's one or they reach out to me via email. I have found most people just send me a random connection, and unless I have a reason that makes sense to connect back, I don't, because I'd like to know who I'm connecting to. Now that's a personal preference. Many of my colleagues in the career services realm absolutely encourage you to reach out to people you don't know, which I also do. I just don't encourage you to reach out to say, hey, can we link in? It's more, I see we have so-and-so in common, or I'm looking for help and information on this industry, and I was wondering if you would have time to talk to me either through email or perhaps a phone call. So once that relationship is formed, absolutely then link with the person. Like I said, I don't mean to talk about both sides of my mouth. Sometimes it's appropriate to reach out to someone you don't know and connect, but just, again, do that wisely. So let's say I want to connect with someone, because that's an important part I want to show you. So there is someone at UConn who I know really well, but for some reason we're not connected on LinkedIn. So Heather Parker, she's an academic advisor in the history department. So it's to do the connect, which I'll show in a moment. Do not do this on a mobile device. It will automatically connect you and not give you the chance to write a personal note. So I should say Heather's also a big book fan. So I write connect, and then here, include a personal note. So if I just hit send now, it's going to do that generic, Beth said she would like to link in with you. But I want to write a note. Hi, Heather. It's capitalized, right? I can't believe we are not yet connected. Beth. She'll get, obviously, that I want to connect. I can put in, and then I'm going to send the invitation. So make it something, relevant. If it's someone that you don't know, it's another alum, you would write something like, hello, I'm a UConn alum from, in this case, you'll give the year, right, because they don't know anything about you. I'm also interested in your field. Again, either would you be comfortable linking in, or would it be possible to connect with you to talk about blank? Okay, let's see what else I want to show you. You will want to indicate your education information. So again, you get to see when I graduated, so I'm a little bit older. But again, in my public, I don't have that visible. I have chosen not to put classes in at this point. I've been working for too long. But if you're a fairly recent alum and you think that the classes are relevant, or you're doing a career change and you think the classes are relevant, by all means, you can include information in that section. If you have received any licenses or certifications that are relevant, again, to your industry, by all means, you want to include them. Volunteer can be interpreted a couple different ways. I have chosen to, I'm just looking for another section real quick. I have chosen to do the volunteer work here that is both personal and professional. So I was very involved in, when I had our intern program at UConn, I was involved in this organization and I held an officer position. I was on the executive board. So I wrote about that. When I was, that's this one, I was past president of a state chapter, so that's this one. So these are all work. This, though, is personal. I'm very involved in my town's library, and so I chose to include that as well. And then I'm a little bit of a crazy cat lady, so I also volunteer at a cat shelter. So I've chosen to be very holistic and say, hey, this is who I am. It's all personal preference. See these bars? I could all move this up. So let's say I decide to leave UConn and I want to go work for the Humane Society. I'm going to move this much higher because now it's more relevant to my new career goal. Skills and endorsements are pretty key. You want people to endorse you. You can add skills. There's over 500 to choose from, or you can type in your own. You can update. You can show the order of them. So there's a number that you can choose from, and you can move around what you want your top 3 to be. You can ask people to endorse you. You can also ask people for recommendations, which is key. So when you ask for a recommendation, these are more significant to future employers because they are harder to get. So with recommendations, you will ask someone. What I like doing is, so you'll put in the person's name, and then, so let's say, I won't actually send this because we aren't connected yet, so I guess she's not coming up. Let's see, so who do I want? All right, I don't want to go with my boss. Let me see, I'll go with a coworker. Nope, I guess I'm not connected. Oh, because she has her other name, her maiden name. I'm just trying to think, like, who the heck do I want to ask? Oh my goodness, I'm not finding anybody that I'm connected with, which makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. I'm not sure why the people are not coming up who I know I'm connected to. But anyway, I don't want to get stuck on that. You will ask people for recommendation. You will be very specific. So Josh is someone I've worked with for career coaching as an undergrad, as an alum. So he chose to give me a recommendation I did not ask. Whereas Holly, I approached and said, Holly, because we used to work together, and she's also a bit of a word nerd and a resume person like me, would you talk about my impact as a career coach or as someone who writes resumes? So if you're going to ask for a recommendation, I'd encourage you to tell the person what you're asking them to recommend you for rather than just a general one. And then you get the chance to approve the recommendation. Someone might recommend you without you even asking first, which is amazing. Again, you want to approve it. Just make sure that it's written well, there's no typos, because it's a reflection of you if the person recommending you did not write correctly. Now, interests, you can indicate, something that you're interested in. Are there groups you want to follow? So I did study abroad, so the school that I went to out in England is there. You can also follow companies, influencers, etc. If you are following companies and you are working and you're following competitors, you want to make sure you hide that. You don't want your current employer to see that. And there's a good article I'm going to show you at the end which kind of speaks to some of that. Groups are a great entity. You want to join groups that, again, match your industry or match your occupation. It's an excellent way to meet people and to have that breadth as well as depth. So you want to join groups, again, that make sense for you. Okay, I want to be noteworthy of time, make sure there's nothing else that has calling direction. Accomplishments. If you have earned any awards, etc., you'll want to put them in. Again, you are allowed to brag, right? That's one of the points of LinkedIn. So being humble does not serve you as well. All right, there's another page I want to show you, which is key, which is the UConn LinkedIn page. Let me bring that over. Now, because I'm not a UConn alum, I don't get to it the same way you will, but you'll go in through through your own profile, or you can type in University of Connecticut. Make sure that you get this site, because there's a few others that use like UConn alumni or something, and that's not run by the university. This is the official University of Connecticut page. As you can see, how many alumni are on it and how many followers. So let's say, so you can see what's going on at UConn, which is great. It's a good way to stay in touch with the university. But let's say you're thinking, oh, I want to do a career change and I want to see what alumni are doing what I want to do. So you can search by a number of different ways, but let's say I want to go into marketing. So I'm going to do that first just as a big term. Now look at this thing. Who in the heck is on LinkedIn from 1900, right? So I want to talk to people who have maybe been out 10 years. So let's say I'll do 2008 to 2018. So now I've narrowed my list down to 14,000 people. Now, how can I narrow that even further? Well, I think I want to move to New York City, so I'm going to check the New York City button. So now it's down to 5,000 people. And see where they work. So there's a little bump there. Let's see where they work. So chances are the ones that say UConn were probably undergrad employees at UConn and just never changed their profile to say that they no longer work there. So let's say I want to go into News America Marketing. So click that. Now I can see a little bit more about them. We can go into what they actually do. So I'm interested, let's say, in the sales portion. So now that huge number is down to 2 people. And I could even see more breaking down what they studied and what kind of work they do. So then we go down here, and as you could see, they're there. I actually have some shared connections with each of these people. And then I could do that connect and introduce myself. If you happen to connect this way and it immediately sends the invitation, you then immediately follow up with that personal note so they get it at the same time. Even if it looks like the system didn't give you the chance, you can do it right after. So looking up alumni this way is excellent. Now remember though, unless you are logged out of LinkedIn, people will see you if you click on their profile. So if I click on this person's profile, they might be wondering, why did Beth Secchi, who I only know through other people, look at my profile? So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to give Christina, like thinking that Christina's being stalked. But you can certainly click on it, read the profile. If you do want to do that, you can do it, like I said, log out, and then you can use LinkedIn in a way through Google searches, and you can still see that public profile, whatever they're willing to share. The benefit of looking up people's profiles, even if you're not going to contact them, is you might want to see where they interned, where they worked, what organizations are they in, how did they get from A to B to C, because maybe that's a path you want to replicate. So there's some excellent reasons to use LinkedIn. You can also go for jobs. So if you are looking for a job, you might find that an alumni works at that place that you are looking to go to, and you can reach out to this fellow alum about what is it like to work in that organization. Now, sometimes people ask me, should I link in with a recruiter? And the answer is maybe. If you met the recruiter at an event, sure. If you are applying and you want to make that connection ahead of time, I think that's fine. If you are, or if they reach out to you, absolutely. If you have applied for a specific job and want to connect with them in order to learn more after you've already applied, I think it can kind of be tricky unless you know for sure that a recruiter is open to it. I would rather you link up with someone who you know or know through someone who works at the organization and learn about the culture that way than reach out directly to the recruiter at this point. Okay, so let's see what's next. I want to stay on track. Again, respecting your time. So we talked about this. So the reason it's key to be connected is because you can look at all these ways to make those connections for yourself. So the whole purpose of LinkedIn is all about connectivity and be engaging and engaged with the program. So here's some of those resources that I wanted you to know. LinkedIn has a help page you can click on, and it has innumerable tips. LinkedIn keeps changing the way they look, which is why my handout is slightly out of date, because it's impossible for us to stay on top of it and constantly update our handouts. But the handout has that general information, which you can find in this link here. Now, this one, we have videos. I'm going to click on that one to show you what it looks like. you will get to a page from here that looks like that. If you would like, and you can open and look at any of these mini videos. If, however, you're on your own and you want to know how to find it, and you don't have the video in front of you, you would go to our homepage of career.uconn, go to CCD on demand, scroll down to social media branding. As you can see, there's numerous other topics that are also of interest. Then the UConn LinkedIn page I took you to. This has, like I said, the handout that I showed you earlier. I want to highlight these 2 points. So this is a woman that I know, Sandra Long, who is I met when she went into business for herself. That's the wrong page I want to show you. Here she is. Okay. So she runs a company called Post Road Consulting, and she goes around and teaches about LinkedIn and other elements. So I'm not encouraging or discouraging you to reach out because there's costs involved, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm encouraging you to go spend your money. She has some valid information that's worth looking at. So she did a TEDx that I think is worth looking at right here. All this is free. She also has a very robust resources page, and she constantly is posting. So here's just another resource for you if you ever want to get more information on LinkedIn using online opportunities. And lastly is this article. Everyone can see your job hunting unless you do this. I was on my own feed this weekend, and this came up in whatever news site I was on, and I thought, oh my gosh, what good timing for this presentation. So it's quite a long article, but it is quite excellent, and I like that it is current. So it really talks about how to stay private. It explains why using incognito is not enough to stay private and whatnot. So I do encourage you, if you're interested in making your profile work for you and not backfire in any way, that you use some of these resources. And let me go here. Okay, if you want to talk to one of us in person as an alum, you have some options. So if you graduated any degree within the last 3 years, you are considered in our system still like a student as far as the services we can offer you. So you would go to the UConn career page, you would look to schedule an appointment, and you'll be able to do so. This page on our website shows all the different ways that we will work with you as an alum. If you've been out more than 3 years, there's another opportunity for you to work with us just for a one-time appointment, or use any of our services online for free, or connect with the Alumni Association with their partner, ProTem Partner. This page shows how people can create an appointment with us. And back on this page, it also talks about if you are in the place where you want to hire a UConn student or alum, there's also information in there, or be a mentor. So that's all on that page. This is the page about how to make an appointment with us. And this is the page that you can go to from the alumni site if you want to work with ProTem partners to get some additional career coaching, as they are more experienced with working with individuals who have graduated more than 3 to 5 years. The focus in our career office at the moment is really on more recent graduating students, regardless of undergrad, grad, or master's or doctoral. So that's the ProTem partners. And lastly, I just want to remind you, as April said, there are still more events happening. I know they go through early February. And if we go to this link, we can see, not sure why it disappeared, we can see how we can go in and look at what is still available. So that's what I have for you. April, were there any questions?
Yes, Beth, thank you so much for your expertise. And we do have a couple of questions. Can you do a quick click on where you found that public profile?
I believe so. Let me go back to my site. Hang on one moment while I play with my computer, because I may have minimized my, there we go, let's see. Okay, so we were in this one, I believe, and I went to edit public profile and URL, and then view, let's say, I believe yeah, this is what is seen. So I believe this is what happened, and then you can edit it further. But I want to say I got it from, this was me. Yep, I just went over to edit public profile and URL. So I'm pretty sure that's I hope that's what you're asking.
Okay. And someone else was wondering about when your employment is terminated, you have severance. How do you safely reconnect with fellow professionals that may know this and may not be comfortable reconnecting with you?
So I think sending you, if you are still connected with them, use the messaging tool. If you're not connected, then I would certainly do that. See how they want to be connected. Like, remember how I wrote my email? I would reach out that way. If the only way to connect is through LinkedIn, then reconnect them and write that personal note and just speaking to that. Though I'm no longer affiliated with X organization, it would be wonderful to stay connected with you as I continue to work in this, in the industry. If you're open to that, well, let's reconnect, something like that. So I would just be very polite and humble and see where it takes you. And if you continue to hit roadblocks, reach out to myself privately or reach out to John through ProTem Partners.
Great. And you had a bunch of articles that you had posted. Did you need to seek permission from the journal or organization before posting them on your site, LinkedIn page?
I don't know if I needed to, but I didn't feel comfortable unless I did. So I did contact where I was quoted in that one Wallet Hub. I did reach out and say, and I wrote it kind of fun. I assume it's okay to share this on LinkedIn because I figured they would want the reach. And they said, oh, absolutely. So to me, it's professional courtesy. I always err on the side of caution. So I'll say yes, even though I don't know if it's a truly official yes.
Okay. And how important do you think it is to receive endorsements of your skills?
Fairly important because it's easy to get those. Recruiters and hiring managers look at them, but don't look at them as strongly as those recommendations because those people have to write something. So I'd say it's definitely worth having your skills noted, having a decent number of endorsements, but what's more significant are the recommendations. So if I was looking to, again, do a job search, and let's say I wanted to be the director of a career center somewhere else, I would kind of go on a campaign because I would maybe take down resume writing because as a director, I would not be doing resume writing. I might want to have something like staff development be higher or strategic development or anything like that, higher ed administration. So I might reach out to folks and say, would you mind endorsing me? Because this is what I'm going to do. So this would be a couple months before the job search, right, to try to help get it up there. So I think it depends on what you're looking to do. If you're looking to do a career change and your top skill that you know your industry values has 3 endorsements, that's going to hurt, right? So you want to build it up to those double digits and then definitely get some recommendations.
Fantastic. And now under your picture where you have the career educator, if you're unemployed and you really don't know what to put there, do you have any recommendations?
Sure. So I'm giggling not because someone's unemployed, just because our students ask this a lot too. So you can do something like aspiring professional or just your expertise. Just because you're not working at the moment doesn't mean you're not an expert in your field. So you still can put a line about the work that you do, even if you don't have a title at the moment. So someone who, I have a colleague who recently was laid off, not from UConn, but from another institution, and I'd have to look at that person's title, but that person is still a career educator, even though they're not affiliated with a university at the moment. So I hope that answers. Again, if not, by all means, email me privately, and I'm happy to help you cultivate the stronger title that you want.
Okay. And what do you think the biggest mistake is that people do on LinkedIn?
I'm so glad that was asked because I didn't talk about the headshot. April, I was remiss. So having no photo is definitely bad. And then secondly, having a photo that is not advantageous. So I don't want to call anyone out on a webinar where it goes, live, but I even see on the pictures that are to my right, there are some that maybe aren't so strong. So you want to make sure that you have a decent headshot. It's not too big of a head. You want to make sure that you're dressed appropriately. You want to make sure that no one else is in the picture or was cropped out, that the background's good. So your background can either be a solid wall or it can be outside as long as it's not busy. I saw one student brought in their headshot and it was really an excellent picture of them, but in the background was a swing set. So the person was not looking to work in a daycare environment, was not looking to work for companies that build or sell swing sets. And so I had to say, even though this is a great picture of you, it's a Facebook profile, but I would not use it on LinkedIn. And as I said, not with other people. Occasionally I'll see one where someone posts with a child in their life. That's not really appropriate for LinkedIn. I've seen some with sunglasses on. I don't think that's always ideal for LinkedIn. So you want to be strategic. You do not have to pay a boatload of money to have a good photo. My goodness, cell phones take great photos. And if you happen to be on campus for any of our major events like career fairs, we always take photos at those as well, and those are free of charge.
Now, if you are a consultant, how would you go about listing clients?
I would get their permission that you are allowed to do that. And then if you are not, then I would speak to the industry more than the name of the company. And you might even write in your about for a list of companies that I've worked with, please feel free to message me privately to have that conversation. Because there may be some that just aren't comfortable with it public knowledge, whereas other times putting it out there, absolutely, you want to let the world know you worked with Disney, you worked with GE, etc.
And can you explain what LinkedIn Premium is? Is that something that people should have before a message can be sent?
Thank you, listener, for calling that in, because I also should have mentioned that earlier. So LinkedIn Premium, our department has found, is not necessarily necessary for the majority of users. So if you want to meet someone and the only way to connect, as far as you can tell, is LinkedIn Premium, I would keep working at that. You're bound to find someone who knows someone who works at that organization or maybe through a group. The people who have told me they found LinkedIn Premium to be especially helpful are recruiters who are using LinkedIn to find candidates. And there's a limit every month of how many people you can search. So if you're active job searching and you know you're really going to be living inside LinkedIn for a long time, maybe you do a 1 month or 2 month membership. You don't sign up long term. But the people I found that have bought LinkedIn Premium haven't told me it's been worthwhile except for the recruiters.
Good to know. And I hope I do this question justice at the moment. It says, don't they say the best way to find a job is to let as many people in your network know you are looking? Not sure what the main privacy tip is in the article you referenced, but if you purposely haven't connected with managers and colleagues in your organization, is there a reason not to share your job search publicly for all LinkedIn members?
I would still be cautious because just because you didn't connect doesn't mean someone else doesn't know someone. So I would definitely be as discreet as possible if you're doing a job search while you're working, and it would not bode well on you in your company to have that be known. In the article, they actually referenced something like that happening to someone where something wasn't private and then someone found out and it just became very awkward. So, and if I didn't read it on that article, I read it on another in preparation for the webinar. So I agree, letting everybody know you're searching. I tend to think that applies more to people who are not employed or are underemployed. So if you are a cashier at a store and you really want to have a job in an office, I think by all means, having that completely public on your LinkedIn is not going to hurt you because you're not in a job that's your career trajectory. But if I were to job search right now to become a director at another career office, I would discreetly reach out to maybe 20 or so people that I know wouldn't betray me, but I would not put anything on LinkedIn about that. You also want to be careful if you're actively employed and then you're going to be searching. If you all of a sudden increase your LinkedIn activity daily, that's going to send a flag to people who are close to you. So that's why I like just regularly doing this 7 or 8 times a month. So if all of a sudden you go to 3 times a week, it's really not going to be a big jump. But if you're never on it and you go to 3 or 4 times a week, that will.
Great. Now, What about someone who has been in the job market 20, 30 years and you've had a dozen jobs? How many do you list on LinkedIn just as with a resume? You don't want a resume that's 20 pages long to tell about like the job you had in high school, but what about LinkedIn?
I think the way April you said that was good. I would do the most recent jobs, maybe the last 4 or 5, because or the ones that are most relevant. But if there's gaps in years, of course, people are going to question that. But I don't think people will question if you don't have a job. So I've been working at UConn for the state of Connecticut for about 20 years. I've worked at UConn since 2001. And so it's been about, close to 30 years, but it's always been in higher ed. So I do have the 4 or 5 jobs that I've held in this time period because I've been at UConn for so long. Now, so I would pick, if you've had 12 or so jobs, that is, I think, too many. So what I would do is just list the most recent, and then in that about section, you can speak to that you've held positions in, and you can list the company name or you can list the roles that you had without going into extensive detail. If you think that working at a company from 8 years ago is super relevant to your search now, or maybe even like 15 years ago would be a better example, then I think you have to list everything from 15 years through now. So that would be my only caution about listing one in the experience section. That's why I like using that about section to explain. Fortunately, LinkedIn's not a legal document, neither is your resume. So you can be selective in how you represent it as long as it's accurate, right? No lying, no embellishing. If you fill out a job application and that says list all your jobs for the last 20 years, every single one must be included. So if you don't know that stuff off the top of your head, I would spend some time researching it, and that way you always have that information on you, because there are companies still, when you go for the interview, you might be asked the day of the interview to fill out an application with your past employment, and I don't want you to be caught off guard.
Good to know. And is there a way to check who's viewed your profile?
Yes, that would be in, let's see, I believe in notifications. You can set it if you want to be notified when people are looking at your profile and vice versa. If you choose to not know who's been looking at your profile, then they can't see you, but you also then can't see pictures. So there is a way to do it. I'm just trying to see where it is because I don't remember off the top of my head, but there is a way. Shoot. Usually I get emails about that. So what I would say is in your settings, you will set that up, and then there we go, how others see your profile, and then who can see you, viewers, etc. So I would set it up in here, and then that's how you'll know when other people are seeing you.
Great. Well, we are closing in. It's 12 to 1 o'clock. It's 12:55. Do you have any last parting words for our group today?
Thank you all for your attention, and so many of you stayed on for the webinar. I definitely would encourage you to, again, stay consistent with LinkedIn and just make sure there's no typos, just like a resume, and just absolutely recommend other people. Put yourself out there. When you start putting yourself out there, others will find you, and then they'll start endorsing you, and just make LinkedIn work for you. And feel free to reach out, like I said, privately. You have my email. If you want to connect with me, be sure you put in that connection, I sat in on the webinar, because otherwise, if I get a random email from someone, I may not accept you. So I'll leave it with that. And always you can follow up with the Pro-Tem folks as well, who partner with, the Alumni Association.
Great. Well, with no more questions, we want to thank you, Beth, for your time and your expertise today, and especially to all of you who joined us. Please be sure to check out uconnalumni.com/events for all of our upcoming happenings in the area. And as a reminder, you will be getting a survey, and we would love to hear back from you and what else you would like to hear from us. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.